young legion. Species, value, nature, system, hear your name. The species is in a semi-ancient trap that knew they could make the identities of sophistication, countries A through Z, pseudo-sophistication, tactically. Defenses of that, they knew that nature would continue to demonstrate to each person finite, active, and progressive proofs of it, and increasingly devalued sequence nature true. And they knew that people being able to sense that, they could employ also to reactions blaming it on the wrong things, others, everyone's motivations, nature's needs, interests, roles. So, for example, with Black Wall Street and a massacre of people, that was employed by that breaching method. That since before computers, the database relationships were to all identity ground locations, our founding parents had to hide their identities and roles with what really unfolded as what really allowed them to be unity against taxes, against England. You think if they knew that they're going to fight against England and the other colonies too, they're going to break that system? Countries individually grouped in together were already in the semi-ancient trap. All locations, areas, and states were already tactically, criminally foreign influenced roles with juxtaposed natures of evil and a fake positive, juxtaposed. Nature demonstrating since semi-ancient times, criminally re-engineered, that actually revealed through our species why we're actually bound and not bound simultaneously. That's how it works. So we're on the other than actually native pure system. That's what the Native Americans. So you have to understand that first as a kid, or you can't judge where they are through opinions. Because only opinions of fake are allowed to speak. They play a hear no evil, see no evil game. But all the different news media, all the different private, even like subreddits. Oh, this is on the subject, this is not on the subject. There is maintenance to where and how the sciences share an identity. And that is increasingly valuable to discern with each of the sciences individually grouped in together. But that's not discern. It's said that a bridge science is increasingly valuable, that being and having been obfuscated. The reasons that we have to go to public education. So they added all these additional reasons that were still are in collusion with that, which nature can only demonstrate, for example, as correlation nature. Self-valued art, summary convictions with history and opinions that are with delusions, but they're also self-valuing rules, crimes, predators, roles with criminally foreign influence databases, relationships, and uses of that, and uses of the life progressions in relationship to offensively through motivation, obfuscated means of every individual to discern that. And all exceptions having been employed for its nervous system method. They put black and white with the law. Now you're going to break the law. In other words, they criminally legalized things. And they criminally made things criminal. And they were roles after their cases, they put the people in the prison. Innocent people and actually guilty people. of things, but they were using both to hide their lipographs, to hide actually recorded value of the uses of their identity ground locations, of their sequence shift self-value. No. Everyone's speaking through others, originally and still. People that need to... I learned from my father, Marbury versus Madison means, quote, real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice, unquote. See, but we have I'll say that all truths are used for lies. All theater natures are positive. See, they're keeping it where, I couldn't believe that. They're pretending people are making allegations. We have the news media. Like they say, that's this person who just wants to get themselves seen on YouTube. Or they just want to do that. They're saying things in the background. You can't say it on paper because they're involved with interbranch forging and switching names. See, that's why they're not supposed to be making allegations, making things up and pretending passions and emotions interbranch in here. And pretending the opposite of that is that sick, cold syndrome they have. Not even a doctor. Their illness as criminal and seditious natures. Pretending they could speak for morality. Pretending they could speak for individually grouped in together. Even the countries that don't have nuclear bombs. Which are a lot more countries are involved with that than anyone realizes. Everyone came through this tactically sick, tactically ulterior from native pure system. Tactically no longer its system that's positive onto itself also. Making more and more of itself that is positive onto itself distinctly from the rest of the species nature through us. So lethal of IDs is forced. And for how it was affected this way by a breaching method, it's self-valued, but through other motivations, natures, needs, interests, even though that's not wanted by everyone. See, this method knew how since before computers to keep order, fake order, to keep, what else do they keep that no one's watching? Everyone's watching how everyone's sickly, distinctly hurting everyone. Everyone missed how sickly, non-distinctly. Everyone's using their physical delusions. Everyone's using their sequence shifts. Everyone is using their tactically, criminally foreign influence premises treatments. Finite value treatments. Fact treatments, truth treatments, positive treatments, active ones, progressive ones. And further, where and how identity has a semi-nature relationship to the identity of actually simultaneous. Actually as what inventions work or not in relationship to it. And they are further positive or not in relationship to it. See, a criminal insidiousness nature has different takes on positive. So they call this politics. That was politics. That's evil, they'll admit. But it's way worse than politics. See, their motivations individually grouped and together, they've only been ever juxtaposed. These are roles with a method /S onto all identity ground locations, areas, and states since before our founding parents' parents were born. And that is true in other countries too. Why do you think in Russia, in America, they have all this technology to go to outer space, fly planes, fly, but what do they have? Since before cars, that infrastructure, and no one could even speak about building more out of it. Black, white, they don't care. Native American, that's all. They cultivated pseudo ethical, physical delusions wrought. Rules, crime, predators simultaneously. So this is how it has been overcome, though. Identity thefts and frauds, role styles. That's what we have too when everyone makes opinions and convictions about the slightest thing in American history. You don't bring up, in other words, you guys keep bringing up Black Lives Matter. Controlled it. Now, You guys are also using them to make it look like there's a right to assemble. We have interbranch still forging and switching names roles with them. We have election crimes acts, and they have in other words, they're pretending people have physical delusions. The doctors of delusions. Now they're going to start calling it physical delusions. They're going to copy what I say. Because while they're in the background, they faked conversations with me and with their family members since I was a kid. They've been attaching little kids to fake locations. So I don't know this Ray Reynolds. They may try to make exceptions when I was in kindergarten and then when I was older. Intercities, interstates. Coordinated time. As the people involved with Weathersfield interbranch family members. With predicate acts, attaching little kids and their family members to fake words. Roles with replacing audio and video with fabricated audio and video. That's why you hear sick things online. All these people complaining through gender. I couldn't understand how a kid, could be abused. They don't want to say anything. What is actually recorded is how they could abuse the kids. A whole bunch of ways on off cameras. They pretend, we're just vetting, or we're just trying to investigate something, or there's always a catch. There are foreign and domestic military also involved. Uses of roads, routes, corners, because of how we are, value/value progression. The uses of the locations next to schools, because of how there's a fact treatment nature, oriented predicate acts roles, and wrongdoing roles, and sequence shift roles that they make to maintain self-value. Victims only capable of being victim predators, where and how it counts, when other people need them to have stability, when people need to talk calmly about reality. See, we have the interbranch and on and off campuses that they were locked into collusion with wrongdoing and predicate acts and motivations, juxtaposed to other things, and with the overt criminal enterprises, private people with body dumping spots, people that call the police departments a lot. There is a method by that /S. They are recorded victims, but victim predators. If the sequence is not dressed properly first, everyone only experienced everyone else lying to them and pretending there are truth tellers and who's a liar. Wrongly. In other words, they're making someone, they're keeping it for themselves. These are totally illegitimate. What's actually recorded and was actually known and was known. For example, using Mr. Rumsfeld's awareness, part of the intelligence community, which is Jim Sciutto with CNN, for example, and Fox News. They speak about the intelligence community. They're speaking about intelligence, even though it has its own meaning, and that's for them. But hundreds of nations at once, it's evidence. They fail. Science didn't and does not speak for what really. Like, see that kid punching that woman on, I don't know, it was on CNN, MSNBC or Fox News, I just saw it, or ABC or CBS. I saw it on more than one too, I think, or NBC. Someone punched a woman, an Asian woman. I don't know, in an urban area. And they mentioned, okay, it was Fox News. But I saw somewhere else too. I saw on CNN too. And then they have the same back and forth. They say, well, why wasn't this guy in prison? And they make the cops like a separate. Cops are involved with killers and with body dumping spots and with various natures of police forms. and with the news media, and as retired and standing as the ones training them, and as ones intercampuses of each age and nature connected, including vertically and horizontally. Because if we are being exploited, each age has a natural function that is being and having been applied to other. See, we have the people speaking about emotions, passions. They're lying about their own emotions and passions. They're lying about the emotions and passions of others because they need to pretend they don't understand them. So they need to pretend, and they need to and their roles with locations, methods. Because these are courts that are used. These are police locations that are used. All of them. Every modern nation used remotely since before they were founded. You cannot pounding drums. You cannot but self-value with trying to defend your logic, pretending that Native Americans had the Constitution on the bench speak for them. Or if you try to pretend that people of any location had the Constitution unabridged speak for them, let alone the most forsaken locations. They want to make it all black and white, leaving out the breaching method took it. Exactly what the breaching method did it then to do now. Our founding parents did not have free speech, and we are prevented it now. The news media, there's no way to tell them. All the channels to them, they are sense and sensibilities, people lying to them, and with delusions, rules, crimes, predators. The people in the background, and then they have the announcers up front saying, "Push with the prison, lock them in prison more." What do they do there? They have people forcing drugs in them. I just saw a video with Paris Hilton testifying. Even Paris Hilton, they said they know. Even if they give you a chance to talk on the phone, you're not going to be able to communicate because of the way they're doing it through everyone through everyone. And they have everyone dishonest at once. And where that is exploited. And it's how they have family members, people, they have them involved with it, neighbors. This is exactly what our suburbs and urban and rural was set up to be only capable of fathoming. Practical. Or anyway legitimate. So of course we have inflation and things like that. We have not fact-cheaping nature, integrity and independence valued first, secured first. Each age of fact-cheaping nature is being lied to and self-valuing it as the nature of victims that this method maintains consciously. Maintain jobs, things employed, yes. Motivations for evil and fake care. Pretending legitimate care. But that was also employed. This is a breaching screen method that knew it was going to have to keep its method, needing to keep the real causes of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and nature is blamed on other things, others themselves. They had all kind of sick laws simultaneous that were the subject. That are the subject. Anytime anyone brings up anything to do with slavery, let alone America, let alone, slavery too, differentially, especially, because it's proof that, and how the identity theft and fraud leveraged against our founding parents is still maintained, because how it is exploited. So we have police forms. We have ones who are doctors involved with all kinds of medicines and drugs crimes, exploitations of locations, fake conversations with people about police equipment. In other words, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, pretending other, but also all kinds of rules with surveillance equipment, crimes with police forms, with courts personally involved with them, prosecutors and cases and people tied to them personally criminally involved with them since there were kids involved with predicate acts on and off campuses, coordinated identity thefts and frauds, roles with the people with the narratives so they can make it look real that are interbranch and private at the same time, attaching little kids to fake locations, fake words. When they have them actually recorded, they're lying about what came before that. They're often doing that too. They're keeping a bunch of methods. When you start to talk about one, they have sick natures too, interbranch. They have passion. They can't control their passions and emotions. Now they brought this because there's sequence shifts too. They have Wethersfield town offices involved with Korea, involved with Afghanistan, involved with other countries, like with criminal enterprises, with the same people. Heather Hansen, other people from Central Connecticut State University, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, forced, tricked, hurt, persuaded to roles with predicate acts they know and are not aware of. And they're pretending they're just, that's because they're involved also with former director of the FBI and with his lawyer and his co-defendants and their family members and Connecticut media and people on off their locations leading up to the 2006 District Court in Connecticut, leading up to the World Trade Center. They had their connections made for them. So they don't have to know what I'm talking about. I don't even know them. They know the only contacts I know them in were initiated by others. All exceptions are in demonstration of the same thing. But they're pretending to perceive other. They also have the corners used. They have these wire crimes. If you call up to report what's actually recorded as child abuses, and as the roles with untimely deaths, and doctors attaching kids and their families to fake conversations, and their roles with drugs and medicine crimes of juxtaposed natures. The same people that are supposed to be against it. Various natures of courts at once, personally criminally involved with them, and with their uses of locations, and of military families forging and switching names, and as black-white punks. Black-white punks, when it comes down to it. You got to get them on paper. In other words, they know me. They sought me out for this. All exception nature, demonstration, the same thing. So there's a Dillon family. There's a former Mayor Gold, also involved with remote uses of real estate agencies and of their agents, interagencies involved with this Anna Dillon, and how they have Annie Dillon and Anna Dillon on her rolls. And she rolls with houses on Fox Hill where they use my name that are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, also involved with the Joe DeMoro, with Wethersfield Police, and with other police forms, intercities, and like in Cromwell, involved with predicate acts, with the corner of Fox Hill, and I don't know what the name of that street is. I don't know why I ever checked. At the western end of it, near the reservoir. And now, one of the colludes that Wethersfield Police recorded, confessed, demonstrated over like 4 months ago, involved with them with forging, switching names and bringing up a whole bunch of more names into it. Also, they brought in the name Sullivan. And it's switching names because one of them said it was a guy. Then they said they only have one and it's a female. Sounded like a little punk, the guy who called too from Wethersfield town offices, voice cracked. And there are proofs that these people come and they spray something in the air. They might have the right to say, but we use the right to lie for what they don't have the right to lie. Now, this is also tied to Paul Manafort and their roles with the media personally, and with their uses of identity ground locations, intercities connected, and my name, as with their roles with various police forms with predicate acts on and off the campuses connected. And their sources are the people that I only know through all kinds of natures of predicate acts and ways they were involved with that self-value. You'll see what's actually recorded they're doing in real life. What they do, they make people make statements, and they pretend they call that in confessions. Then they have them walk away. They lie about what came before that with the person, where they were before that. They lie about with the person when they walk about, and then you're going to confirm it. And they're never going to give you that because they use time two ways, too fast and simultaneously too slow, while they're simultaneously replacing actually recorded reality with fabricated audio and video transcripts and just made up things. They've been doing this since before computers. They've been doing this with the online Facebook pages and with the Facebook pages interbranch. The Britain Superior Court's Facebook page, Hartford Hospital's Facebook page, has roles with their patients and criminals, with sexual, medical, drugs, crimes, also with and untimely death rolls, other natures of predicate acts, and rolls in cases with the predicate acts on off their locations and their methods. Like everyone pretend we're just running for the story. Oh, this is our topic. Black Lives Matter again. Fake. Oh, but we have a new guy. But there's no election crimes. Follow mandated law and let the Constitution on a bridge free ourselves. And also a whole bunch of people with the prisons are recorded and involved online with them. See, they have databases too involved. Sandy Hook, Newtown has various natures of courts, personally and criminally involved with them, and delusions wrought they don't even realize. But also sequence shifts and rules, crimes, predators, forging names, switching names, roles. So they realize too. See, but we can force mandated law. You guys got to help me get a response for Connecticut interbranch judges and the online ones, including Fox Connecticut News, is roles with recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Roles with WFSB and with their sources, intercities, and on off their location in Rocky Hill. On off campuses of each age and nature involved with the intelligence community and with overt criminal enterprises and with the training of police forms and with their acting coaches and with their doctors. All what I told you guys, delusions, all that. Now, I can't get a response in paper since I was a kid because they play these games, which is part of the way you're going to see what's recorded. Actually, I recorded. Them doing, also using and having used private school kids that went to not even the same private schools, reportedly. You know, people I never saw around my school, but they made people come in on exceptions too. So we'll see how we have to use these words for computers. They're not letting us use it for real life first because they've been lying with the computers. Nothing is binary alone. The binary identity only works because it's giving a sequence value. It's giving an additional location besides that value. It's giving an identity of relationship to whatever identities are involved with that identities. All the words in the dictionary are identities of value / value progression, where and how everything is increasingly positive or negative to us, but it will only stay positive unto itself. All exceptions in exception nature are in demonstration, demonstrably, using science, how it is most probable, at least. I mean, demonstrable. How it is demonstrable that one identity of relativity is self-generating as a simultaneous nature. That when we are really being true to the value and as the value of sequence true that came before, we're trying to be true to what it came before, the order of the finite now, the smallest detail, while trying to be true to the smallest detail now, because we're going by this what is actually native pure in all ways. And Anything that can be made up could, in other words, criminal insidiousness is proof. I'm not even a lawyer. Criminal insidiousness is proof. Thank God, because but the part where there's exceptions where we need a lawyer too, though, we'll get that. But where they can't defend themselves, we could do this ourselves. We have mandated law on our side. They're lying about what the law says because they're looking in databases. But also they know those databases are sick. But simultaneously they don't because they have delusions too. But simultaneously they are rules, crimes, predators. That's why you have to have the mandated law followed. And you have to watch how this was through administrations. There are people who have been lying about conversations with me about my Facebook. Doctors too. In other words, one of them made statements to me 3 times. They forced me to Hartford Hospital. One time was 3 days. There was a Leahy family that works there, a Lombardo family. A whole bunch of people tied to a Dillon family. Involved with some untimely deaths and predicate acts of other natures on and off Trinity College, identity thefts and frauds rules with people from my town. Like if I say that's not true, I don't know them, or I never know. They try to pretend other by pretending exceptions in the past. And as context where they were all involved with like bomb making confessions about sending drugs through UPS. Things like, all at once. And this is all tied to the confessions my neighbor had made and their relationship to them. I only know them through that. And I don't know all the people's names. See, they're preventing me from getting writing. Now, these are the same people that leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and in it, they had timed instances, roles with other countries too. Coordinated, used to hide their lie progressions. This is why it seemed like it was consciously knowing I wanted to speak about what I was capable of speaking about in grammar school, using correlation by how Native American rights and by how black rights, and pretending care for it now. We're supposed to be, it was like the 80s, that okay, we're going to be free now. People are swearing, they're getting mad. They're going to do some, these are not, in other words, correlation nature knows that we have cars and things now, but we're in the same trap. This is designed to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Not just predicate acts, but that. Not just criminal insidiousness natures, but those. Not just wrongdoing, but that only known as American education, as other countries' education. Not only, stand for the flag, or you're a jerk for not standing for it. See, that's fake binary, needs that. And they need the black and white thing because they already use black and white with physical delusions, and that was already in being and having been employed. Because they can't defend that and afford discerned the short words that have revelations tied to them with correlation. Correlation in science and honesty and truth and laws that way did not speak for Hartford, Connecticut, didn't speak for Wethersfield, Connecticut, let alone Hartford, Connecticut, let alone New York City. And it's not by accident in Russia and here they have the houses since before the cars in that style that was forced, that was in that method that was so sick and crazy with the database relationships, everyone with their fact sheet nature, that our founding parents had to hide their roles. With Marbury versus Madison. All justice, real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. See, they have to pretend that means that guy should be, that's a judge holding a beer, and then they all start getting like that. They keep everyone, but people get hurt by the alcohol. They're putting fake use of drugs to people, fake uses of alcohol. Same people that have been spreading lies since they were kids. I don't know this Chris Cullen. I know him one time. And he walked by me like real second in school trying to, because they were involved with lie progressions with judges and prosecutors and with people that were the overt criminal enterprises when I was in middle school. And then when I was in high school, in other words, and when I was in Joe Aiello, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated was it by others is involved with them. He confirmed other ways. He confirmed roles with Mayor Gold, with Facebook, involved with them with predicate acts, with the judges, various natures of courts involved with them criminally, speaking fake things into records with them. So there are more officers forging and switching names with Wethersfield Police. And on Facebook, Officer Jerry Miller. And Facebook page KNERR, last name. A bunch of accounts are tied to New Britain Superior Court. Also rolls with sequence shifts, predicate acts. Officers forging names, switching names, passion crimes. Because I caught them with intercities, involved with uses of the places where the highway exit near Town Line Drive and South Steen Highway, and places in West Hartford near the highway exits. And they're involved with on-off Central Connecticut State University with a bunch of predicate acts. So these are also officers that were forging names, switching names, and they put a whole bunch of different falsified police reports for the same arrests and a promise to appear, that then they kept escalating it and switching the officers' names and identity so they could just keep everyone play stupid. In other words, and they don't provide writing, and now they have to lie to the and you have to see how they hide their lie progressions. I watched them torture people. These are people that were involved with the World Trade Center attack context on and off it, and the locations next on and off the locations next to it, timed, and on and off the Ninth Circuit, right? But leading up to it, there was post-dated documents presented to the Ninth Circuit Court, which is right next to where the World Trade Center towers were right before they got hit. The panel of judges were shown post-dated documents that had been post-dated from inside the Ninth Circuit. That proven led to the 2006 District Court case with the director of the FBI as a defendant, with his co-defendants, 3 of them, and others tied to them and their family members and neighbors, were courted, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts against me and other kids intercampuses through time, and with people with Department of Transportation, Department of Motor Vehicles. Now they said, and the house is near a Dearborn Street too. They said Eric Jensen also said it was with people with the South Civiello and people on off 2 Route Highway, involved with predicate acts with them, also with state police and people associated with them personally. This is through generations. Now these are people also with locations next to the schools, attaching me and others to fake locations, fake words, fake sequence relationships. They're playing roles and playing stupid with the courts in the background. Can't put anything in writing now because what I caught them doing in many ways. They should have responded to when they hid what I caught them doing with my health class project on the houses next to the schools, involved with all these confessions, tied to the ones from my grammar school, from people that leave no means to counter them, recorded in grammar schools, recording, communicating, confessing, demonstrating they're going to pretend other about how they're criminally foreign influenced and how there are uses of their criminal insidiousness each year. And they're consciously keeping people from using correlation nature to speak about how, in other words, follow the maze backwards. They perfected a breaching method against Native Americans, made them divided from each other. That's what's most probable, just per their self-valued uses of the, when they speak about look, they made this invention in the times. When there were the databases, all the locations were criminally foreign influenced. Bad things were going on. Okay, this is a method since semi-ancient times, making people compare. Oh, times are getting better. That's your estimate. You have to be able to counter. You have to be able to discern the predicate acts, delivery system methods sustained against Native Americans. Now too, because it's worse for us and them differentially, especially too, because we are one native volume, even if we're not Native American. But we're hundreds of nations that knew that didn't see it coming. It is, even if it's not real, then there is maintenance to it enough real that we could just say, claim it syntactically. They're an archetypal criminal enterprise, and an identity of negative value nature progression is being and having been self-value maintained. That's part of the torture method that the World Trade Center attack was leveraged to maintain syntactically too hard to, everyone's now fighting for torture because there are fake sides. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, for example, before the World Trade Center attack, they were forced to roll with predicate acts on and off Central Connecticut State University and on and off child campuses connected to these universities. Now these are people associated with the state police and with the FBI. Like an officer, there's also an Officer Hunter recorded involved with them, intercities, leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since. There are a whole bunch of people that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated have him and judges involved with him with predicate acts, intercities, and on and off Central Connecticut State University. These are also people leading up to and through elections, uses of Paul Manafort's name and of the CNN's roles with on and off Paul Manafort Drive. And how there's there are going to have to be victim reactions on the sides of the students, and on the sides of the school, on the sides of the private. They hire where and how people who are commuter students might try to, sometimes if they have one of those buildings for a class on that side of the campus, they're going to try to park in that parking lot, maybe. And that place has to stay on top of that all the time, for example. It's because we have the people that are perceiving, using surveillance equipment. They're also replacing people. They're putting people on Central Connecticut State University, on Trinity College, to fake. These are colleges that are filmed 24/7, but no one's checking where former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants, and all the people from Central Connecticut State University involved with them, with predicate acts, and with having sought me out to confess and demonstrate and confirm roles with that, and how they speak through others so they pretend it's complicated, and how they have everyone's neighbors involved with that too, is per what this was set up for. So everyone's shocked and awe when this is what employees hurting her. I don't even have to know what would hurt all those people like that. It was already sustaining a bunch of knaves that were hurt too. I'm not saying it's right. I mean, I'm saying this is a breaching method. We're not trying to look at right or wrong. We're trying to look at what we have to overcome, not leave out the parts of it and stay in collusion with it, doing that, which is proof why we should not, blame it on things like racism See, people, now you're making allegations against people. Oh, but that's a criminal, that person did that. How come, they do a lot worse. And the ways they do it are different. See, they pretend, we're evidence racketeering. Locations are what the courts and the police form should be called. And when that's not true, and where that's not true, and where they have integrity, it is differentially constantly true anyway. In other words, the overt criminal enterprises, the branches of government, private criminal enterprises, they have roles with locations. They have roles as reactions to what is sustained. That hurts everyone. Because you can't, these locations are designed to have nature demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts and natures. And they're, they go by what people say. Like, oh, defund the police. They'll defund the police or the police. They leave out how the hierarchy of police forms are involved, forging names, switching names with them. All the methods they have where they have people call up as victims all the time, don't know how, and ones that are also victim predators mixed with, they have it even, in other words, there are standard ways throughout the states that people call up, and that's criminally foreign influence. But it's sickly distinctly. So even they don't realize how it's sickly non-distinctly. They have the sense and sensibilities of everyone per this method that has the houses next to the where I went to kindergarten for 1 year, then they closed it. I think it's on a Valley Crest or something. In Weathersfield. There are houses near there. There's a Schedule family. Never had anything to do with them. They sought me out to confirm roles. Or one of them did. And more than one of them. They have roles with this. With all kinds of nature predicate out intercities, on off Middletown locations. And with names of people I don't even know. And with a Phil Colludes. And with people associated with prisons. And with Hartford Hospital. Involved with drugs and medicines crimes, and with forensics locations, and with Joshua Julian, and all these people, we can get the names of the rest of them that are involved with, like with the black and white military police, uses of them. You see them pretending, they have on-off the state judicial branch offices used remotely. The house of an Oliveri house, recorded, used remotely. Roles with predicate acts on off Trinity College that are connected to ones through time, on off the other campuses I went to, of each age. This is educational. This is education, which is distinct from job training. See, now this is made non-distinct formally. See, this is why we need a liberal arts. Liberal arts the way it was in ancient times. Just education that's with so many delusions and with so many criminally foreign influence premises treatments and uses of them self-valued and roles with that can't defend itself in its nature and afford discerned. The short words like a predicate acts delivery system method called slavery. Revelations come from that because it's true always and it's not denying exceptions. All exceptions that were real were in demonstration of the same thing. Vaccine. I tell you things. So when people are fighting, when they were fighting about Jim Crow laws, or what led up to whatever happened with how they could hurt all those people, and they call it racism, while simultaneously, this is part of how you could discern it scientifically, while scientifically, that breaching method is left out of the equation. That breaching method is what put those laws into place since before our founding parents were born. That breaching method brings up what people say after they came through campuses and schools, pretended to be legitimate, pretended to be measuring people equally. They're sabotaging right before the test, especially the people with the kids involved with the drugs and medicines crimes as the people supposed to be against it, as the ones with the badges with the interbranch cliques. They're controlling what's positive or negative. They're controlling who could chill out, who it's good to have them all paranoid. They don't want to be doing things like that. They're trying to push those things on people because they're also been attaching people that don't do it to pretended uses of it. They try to make exceptions. They make one exception. They cover their sequence shifts. They attach everyone to fake locations before they. In other words, every day in court since founding. Every day when the police interact since founding. Every day when the overt criminal enterprises interact since founding. Every day when the private criminal enterprises interact since founding. People around body dumping spots, knowingly or not. People involved with the investigations. The police came in contact with them because someone made a complaint. These are things being used for predicate acts that are involved with and as a method and with and as motivations run by already having been used remote uses of their life progressions, remote uses of their natures as criminal insidious natures, as really recorded. Common sense shows a correlation shows us that a criminal insidious nature can only say that science spoke for New York City. And where it has to pretend where it has to search for, the same thing in the other countries at the same time. Science never spoke for free market here. So how could they in other countries where they're playing that communism, socialism, there are socialists and communists here. The ones pretending to be against it because they're preventing the where and how. Worse than forsaken locations and value what things could afford means to them. How cheaply it could be produced for everybody. All that is the possession of a breaching method, not honesty. We need mandated law followed outside of court. We don't need lawyers fabricating audio and video as fake sides, a fake array of difference with the courts originally still. That was also evidence that was never allowed to be used. There are revelations in that. There are revelations not just in the sick, criminally foreign influenced and delusions logic of the people that involved with the drafting of Jim Crow laws, but the counters to it are also defenses of premises treatments that are being and having been employed by what is hurting everyone to every identity ground location. That's the method telling everyone to use the stupid identity racketeering, identity thefts and fraud styles. That's the one torturing and then lying about the reaction because they're just stacking on more and more fabricated audio and video. If you try to use short words properly, then they pretend they don't understand you while they're stacking name switching and forging roles. You have little fakes speaking to you as police forms because they're victims only capable of being victim predators. You have little fakes speaking for you as judges because they're victims only capable of being victim predators. You have little fakes speaking for you as politicians because they were already used criminally foreign influence roles with sequence shifts, database racketeering, involve vertically horizontal uses of it with this Mayor Gold, other mayors involved, also with the buildings next to the state capitol and next to Fox Connecticut News and next to WFSB. You guys brought this up, not me. All exceptions and exception H are a demonstration of the same thing. Can't record the pleas. You guys have recorded, confessed, demonstrated you have them pretending other, and you simultaneously have your investigators criminally foreign influence, covering your life progressions by the wording in the other stories too. Who are you talking about was complaining about the and you guys have been replacing actually recorded audio and video with fabricated audio and video. And you've been lying about my Facebook, and you've been lying with the police that put me in fake quotes with themselves. Never had a word of conversation with that older Mendez police brother. I had his name told to me by others before. Walked by, smiled a couple of times. I remember. Because I knew his brother before that. It was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with predicate acts. With the people on all sides of the school. That with the private school kids. Involved with the predicate acts. Involved with the ones on my street when I was a kid that went to private schools. Never had a class with them. O'Brien family associated with also with the people they said with the downtown Hartford buildings in the intelligence community. Now, a whole bunch of people tried to, uses my name in the back because that's how they keep they give themselves away. Who they are. In other words, these are people, these are courts and judges and family members, people that work for the courts, that were on off CCSU involved with predicate acts. Fake things. They're planting evidences with locations. They're having their kids and family members steal people's identities, identity thefts and frauds rules. Why do you think they have, title theft? Hold on to your title. Who the hell's following the where are the police? Oh, that's why we need funding for the police. You know how much money they steal every day? Ones with badges that are working for the mental health and mental evaluation places. You guys better wake up, follow mandated law, get them onto paper. They put me in fake words. Now you got to get them in paper now too. Because they speak fake things into records, various natures of courts, judges associated with the ones from Wethersfield into Branch. Little creeps with the databases. And the people with the prisons with them too. You need to hide life progressions with their patients and criminals before they got caught, including the child offender leader, child abusers, leaders of the kids further. These are gangs and overt and private criminal enterprises involved juxtaposed too, and their acting coaches, and not just if they're undercover. They're not just legitimate. They actually have predicate acts with them. You watch. They have identity thefts and frauds. No, they have white and black police officers through time switching names, forging names with white, black, female judges. Roles with this, with KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, military police, identity thefts and frauds rackets, attaching little kids and their families to fake words, fake locations, their roles with predicate acts in cases, with depositions, pretending they didn't realize the outcomes in cases actually that was, pretending in conversations with me about cases, as their roles with the defendants in those various same cases too. Now they have to lie to Judge Napolitano. They have to pretend they can't talk because I was their patient. I wasn't their patient. Get them on paper now. You make sure that we get a response for the Wethersfield Interbranch Intercities, New Britain Superior Court, Hartford Courts, before the World Trade Center. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, having been involved with locations crimes, intercities connected, and on off the campuses. Make sure we get these police switching identities shown how they put the different falsified police reports, not one to respond to. Let's get going.